Welcome back to the Fanspeak Network, and we have a packed house today as we look ahead to what week are we in? Is this week 5, week 6? Wow, time flies when you're having fun. Week 6 in the NFL, and we're going to break it down and find some winners today. All right, and fresh off his winning appearance on last week's prop show, we brought in the big guns today. Our good buddy Jayme Orth joins us at Hey Yo Sports, founder of HeyYoSports.com. Jayme, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. I watch your guys' stuff every week, so I was excited to hop in here and chop it up with you fellas.
All right, and we're going to take advantage of this more often as the season continues. So I hope you appreciate the content that he's bringing. JC, we missed you yesterday. What did you think of what did we decide? Week 6 in the NFL?
Week 5? Yeah, we're coming up on week 5. Yeah, week 5. It was a good week for me. I feel like I finally got a handle on this season. Very profitable week for me. So hoping to keep it rolling into week 6.
All right, and Tyler, we almost had an undefeated week last week as well, but unfortunately, Pittsburgh fell short. What did you see in last night's game, Tyler? We stayed off that game. Did it even go under? Was it 26-13?
23-16. Yeah, 23-16. It went under. But I mean,
we should have made that official, but whatever.
Chiefs defense is great. Their offense, they turned Juju into the number one option, and he looked good. I don't know how long that can stay, but I mean, he's going to spread the ball around. He's just going to keep growing as the favorite to win the MVP. I haven't checked his number yet today. He was 280 before that game started. Now he's down to plus 230. So, I mean, Mahomes is the clear-cut favorite for MVP as they keep winning games.
That's funny because statistically he's not really blowing things away.
He's not, but he's the quarterback on the best team, and that's what wins the award.
All right, and we'll see. Jayme, did you watch last night's games, and what was your takeaways?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I was on the under, so I greased one out. It was a sloppy one, but man, the Saints are just they're so overrated, man. I know I felt a lot of hype on them in the first 2 weeks, but I don't think they're near as good. And like Tyler said, it's crazy to think that a guy who didn't even throw a touchdown pass last night is probably the leader of MVP. It kind of speaks to the state of the football we're at right now. But yeah, I mean, pretty gross game. It feels like the score should have been way more lopsided if you look at the yards and time of possession between both teams. I mean, the Chiefs dominated that game, head to tail. So like he said, Juju Smith, man, he's getting revived. He clearly played that Rashee Rice role. You know what I mean? He was fully in that, and Kelsey got revived too. But yeah, it was a sloppy game, not a very fun Monday night football game. But yeah, it went all right. We'll take the winning under 43 there for sure.
All right, yeah, we should have made it official, but that was the lean that I forced Tyler to give out yesterday to the normal guy that didn't care about plus EV and just wanted to smoke a joint, drink a beer, watch some football on Monday night. Jayme, my only pushback for you on the Saints is simply that they're missing a lot of offensive linemen. They're down to their third string center. They're down to their third string guard. And we've seen how that can decimate teams. So I don't want to write. I think this team could get right if they're able to get their offensive line healthy. Off the top of my head, though, I do not know how severe those injuries are and if that will ever happen again this season. Yeah. JC, any thoughts before I move into my Rodgers rampage?
Oh, man. Yeah, I knew it was going to be a defensive dominated game. I knew that would kind of be the storyline and what would kind of control the outcome. And did the show with Holden over on Nuke the House yesterday. And I said, Kansas City's run defense is stellar. They're going to shut down Alvin Kamara. That's exactly what they did. And it didn't really leave the Saints with much other options. And so it kind of just made an easy game for the Chiefs to win. They didn't have to, score that many points to finish them off. Really impressed with what we saw out of Kareem Hunt. I did not expect that at all. So, I mean, if he can keep that up throughout the season, I mean, the Chiefs are just going to roll to a third straight title.
All right. And just to give myself a pat on the back, I was happy that game went under last night because I was able to keep my 17th place finish in weekly winners.
Way to go, Spread.
47 entries. I'm now 2 times my money on the year, and we're only through week 5. So I was definitely excited about that. I wanted to see Foster Moreau and Kareem Hunt and guys that I knew weren't going to be rostered. I was just was a little worried about a Kelsey and Mahomes breakout, but I was able to do that. So I was happy about that. But let's see how much pushback I get here, because I'm ready to go on a Rodgers rampage. The myth of a 40-year-old quarterback who's not named Tom Brady or George Blanda. Shout out to my old heads out there. Oh, look at my cat in the background. Being able to lead a team is just, and I feel bad for Robert Saleh, because I feel like he did what he was meant to do. I sent this skit to you guys earlier, and we'll give him credit. It was from Benjamin Solak. But since the 21-20 season, the New York Jets defense is first in points per drive, first in EPA per play, and third in success rate. He was brought in to be a defensive-minded coach, and everyone thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to be the savior of this team. Through 5 weeks, they have the same amount of points as the Zach Wilson-led Jets did last year. So what is so great about this 40-year-old guy? He's obviously causing problems in the locker room, obviously causing division here, and he forced them to bring in one of the worst offensive coordinators in the league, Nathaniel Hackett. Let's see if things change when they move in Devontae Adams, but we've seen Garrett Wilson's role be decreased under Hackett, and I think that Saleh is being unfairly blamed for a poor ownership and poor front office. You brought in this guy that is way past his prime. You're expecting him to play like it's 2010. Newsflash, it's 2024. Now Robert Saleh is, to me, in my mind, being unfairly scapegoated for the mistakes of this ownership group. Jayme, what are your thoughts?
Dude, I'm with you 100%, man. Like, it's we talked about it a little bit beforehand, but honestly, watching him play and how he acts on the field is embarrassing, man. Like, he's just constantly shaking his head, shrugging his shoulders, just having this classic Aaron Rodgers attitude that I swear, as a Packer fan, like 5-6 years ago, it was not there. Something changed within the last 5 years to make his ego just like go out of the roof. And like you said, he just hasn't been very good. I think people forget too, like, before Matt LaFleur got to Green Bay, Rodgers was coming off of like borderline bad, if not just average NFL seasons as a quarterback. And then LaFleur, he comes in, LaFleur gets him 2 MVPs, then he comes off again and he looks pretty bad. Yeah, he's coming off an Achilles injury, but that doesn't seem to be an issue to me. He's not throwing the ball well at all, man. He had 3 interceptions, just all in critical situations of that game. And, I'm with you 100%, man. Saleh is definitely getting the blame for this. Like, with anything, Nathaniel Hackett should be gone. Like, trust me, as a Packer fan, I know Nathaniel Hackett is not good. And I know Rodgers is very prideful. He wants his guys to be in. That's why they brought Cobb in last year. That's why they got Alan Lazard. And, that's classic Rodgers, where he thinks that he's the smartest guy in the room. He just has not been playing well at all, man. So I'm with you 100%. Saleh got the blame for this. He took the fall, which is honestly crazy to me, right? Like, it very easily could have been 3-2, very easily could have been 3-2. They could have easily beat Minnesota with how bad Sam Darnold played on Sunday, and the head coach getting fired after 5 games with Aaron Rodgers in his career, and you get rid of the head coach. That to me feels like a massive overreaction, and I don't see anything change. Yeah, they're going to get Devontae Adams, I'm sure, and I'm sure they'll make the offense a little bit more efficient, or maybe Rodgers just goes back to hyper focusing on Devontae Adams like he did his last few years in Green Bay. But like, the issue was not resolved by getting rid of Hackett or getting rid of Saleh. Hackett definitely should have been the first one to go, not the head coach. And it's crazy because I feel like that kind of is generally how it goes, right? I feel like at first they would have, we saw it last year with Buffalo, right? It wasn't Sean McDermott that went. It was Ken Dorsey that went. They brought in Joe Brady, tried to fix it up. Like, I'm just really surprised that. And to me, like you said, it feels like they didn't get rid of Hackett because they know that Hackett is Rodgers' boy. You get rid of Hackett, it's just cause a massive, massive mess with Rodgers. So I'm with you 100%, man. It's honestly pretty embarrassing to watch how he acts on the field with the way he's been playing. So I'm with you.
And I think it's emblematic of a good ownership group versus a bad ownership group. Rodgers, if Green Bay would have done this same cowardly stuff, they would have forced out Matt LaFleur.
Yep.
How would that look right now? Because he didn't want to play for LaFleur either. The guy doesn't want to be coached. He wants to have his own puppet in there, and it's gonna ruin this organization if it already hasn't. And I think it's really too bad. One last thing I want to say in defense of Saleh is everybody thinks, and this is because of the Madden generation, that coaching is simply play calling. It is not. A lot of coaching involves teaching technique, enforcing the rules, and I think that Saleh did an excellent job. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Jets have hit on all these defensive draft picks, because they've been developed properly. JC, do you agree with me? Or are you ready to give me some pushback here? Because Meg's not in the chat to defend her favorite peyote taking quarterback.
I really don't know. I mean, like, it definitely didn't seem like Salah was doing anything to help the team, but I don't think this solves their problem, and I don't know what exactly their problem is. My initial thought when I saw the news is, okay, they're 2-3, and like Rodgers hasn't helped improve this team, right? They were still in the wild card chase with Zach Wilson as their quarterback, so I don't really know what this solves, and I don't know if he's the problem. I mean, watching that game against Minnesota, I mean, you nailed it. They had a chance to beat them, and these drives just kept getting shut down. So I don't know if that's on the play calling. I don't know if that's on Rodgers. I don't know if that's on Salah. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out against the Bills this week. I was trying to see the line movement. It looks like it's moved a little bit, but it hasn't affected things too much. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they get that little new coach boost, or if this is just the beginning of just a complete teardown in New York.
I don't think it's a tearing on. The defense is so good, but we'll see what's going to happen.
But at least from the inside, right? Because, I mean, if they lose another 2 games, what are they going to fire Hackett?
I mean, who knows? And they do have an interesting game that we'll get to as we break down. I can't figure out what week it is.
6.
You know what? Doing college messes me up. So college is week 7 and NFL is week 6. Tyler,
Correct.
Your thoughts?
You guys do know the DC took over as the interim, right? Not Hackett.
Right, but but the problem is the offense, not the defense.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but the other thing too is I get it. Saleh probably shouldn't have been fired, but I don't think he's all that good of a coach either. And the blame was going to go on him. Like they weren't going to throw Aaron Rodgers out of the door. They weren't going to fire Hackett. Somebody had to get blamed.
But I
also think the credit spreads giving Saleh for developing this defense. I think I could have coached this defense with as much talent as they have on it.
No way, because these players don't become talented unless they're developed properly.
So Sauce Gardner just needed development when he didn't give up a touchdown in college.
Okay, that's one player. The defense is 11
DJ
players.
Reed was solid in college. Quinnen Williams was a bulldozer.
Jeff
at
Okudah
Alabama.
was solid in college too. How did he do?
I mean, there was an Ohio State guy. We're talking about guys that are coming out of the SEC that are playing on this Jets defense.
the one thing I forgot to throw out there, I thought Spread would appreciate this. I mean, ultimately, do you think Rodgers just pulled a LeBron?
I was going to bring those in, but
Just because I don't think he's the problem, right? I mean, again, you're not going to get rid of Rodgers, Boy, and Hackett, but I don't think getting rid of Salah solves your problems.
yeah, I don't think it improved the team either. But obviously, there was some sort of disconnect there. It wasn't working, and hey, I could eat my words. Maybe they'll all be happy and harmonious under new head coach and general manager Aaron Rodgers. They'll trade. Hopefully, they trade a first-round pick for Devontae now, right? Because they really are under the bucket here. And Tyler, to give you a little bit of credit, I think you might be right. Maybe Saleh is better served to be a defensive coordinator. We've seen that with Vic Fangio, right? He just wasn't a good top guy, but has been excellent with every defense that he's coached. So, and that could be the case. But I do think that he said he's going to take the rest of the year off. So 49ers fans, everyone in my little group chat this morning, there were a bunch of 49ers fans. They were hoping that Saleh would come straight back. I think he's going to wait the whole rest of the year. And whatever organization gets him is going to be happy, I think, to have him as a defensive coordinator. And at the end of the day, you might be right that he just wasn't cut out to be a head coach. But I think he's an excellent defensive coordinator, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for that defense. Any final thoughts on this jarring news that we woke up to as Doug Peterson, first coach fired backers are in hell right now because seemed like it was at 8-1 a couple weeks ago. Everybody pounded it. It was down to plus 150 and it doesn't cash. Any final thoughts there, Jayme, on the Rodgers situation and the dismissal of Robert? Oh, I had one more thing on this. I still think it's bad ownership. The fact that they wouldn't let address his team and they took him out through security, I mean, it just shows it's just not a good ownership group. And as a Raiders fan, I am well versed in failures at ownership. I understand bad ownership. I lived through bad ownership, and I'm able to recognize it here. Jayme, any final thoughts as you're happy to see your Green Bay Packers made the right move, moving on from Rodgers once he got past his prime?
Yeah. I mean, last thing is, not all things, more than one thing can be correct here, right? Like Saleh probably isn't a very good head coach, right? He's probably a much better defensive coordinator, but it still doesn't mean that, firing him as a head coach is all of a sudden to make your offense more efficient, especially when Nathaniel Hackett's the guy who's supposed to be conducting this offense and making it move, right? When it's Hackett and Rodgers, like I don't see how getting rid of Saleh is going to improve the offense, which was clearly the issue of this team. And who knows, maybe, and you could tell there, even in the lead up, Rodgers and Saleh had like some disagreements about cadences and stuff like that they talked about like in the press conference after, I think it was week 4 and stuff like that. So clearly, it's to me, it's very obvious they weren't going to fire Rodgers Boyd. They didn't want to, damage Rodgers' ego a little bit, and because Rodgers has been very public about what he thinks about Hackett. So like you said, it's a mess. The organization's a mess, man. The Jets for the reason. I just don't think it's going to get much better. And the thing is, the defense will keep them afloat. They're going to still probably, win 7-8 games, and they'll be in contention for a wild card spot, I'm sure. And maybe they get Adams, and that offense picks it up a bit.
Do you think if they got Adams, that fixes things, and they are able to win the AFC East, or is this?
I mean, they're not going to win the AFC East. I definitely don't think so. But I think it's not going to hurt. I don't think. Like Allen Lazard he's much better as a number 3 receiver. Like he's just not a number 2. And getting Adams, he hasn't actually been that efficient this year. But obviously, it's playing for the Raiders, so it's hard to contextualize that a little bit. No disrespect to your Raiders, but I'm sure
they deserve all the disrespect.
I'm sure it will help, but I don't think it's going to like make them the favorite by any stretch of the imagination. No.
All right. I want to check on this. So Meg's not here to keep me accountable, but Steve is. He's doing his job, and he says, my little Zach Wilson stat, the Jets did have 2 defensive special team touchdowns in the first 5 weeks last year. So technically Rodgers is 14 points ahead of Zach Wilson. He also says they got their points on big splash plays from Hall and Wilson. I think they had 3 60-plus yard TDs in those first 5 weeks. And obviously best ball Jets stackers are disappointed, and we can't put all the blame on Rodgers. 27th in offensive line rush win rate. So while Breece Hall and Braylon Allen have been disappointing to us, it's not all on them. I just tried to kind of, take away some of the blame for Kubiak, Carr, and the Saints due to offensive line injuries, and the Jets are definitely deficient in that offensive line. But I want to circle back to my earlier point. If you don't waste draft picks trading for Rodgers when he was going to get cut or become a free agent anyways, you might have been able to address that offensive line. And also you traded a 3rd-round pick for a guy that you didn't have signed.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, I'm with you. We knew that coming in, right? Like when Rodgers was leaving Green Bay, a team that had a top 5 offensive line, and went to the Jets that clearly struggled in the offensive line. Like we knew this was going to be an issue even last year, right? So it's like to me, that's not surprising at all. We knew that was going to be the case the whole time. So, yeah.
All right. Let's jump into Thursday night football. The San Francisco 49ers are laying 3 points on the road to the Seattle Seahawks, who I was loving after they went 3-0. Okay, they had a little bit of a hiccup, but last week's loss was inexcusable. They took on the New York Giants, who had become the Malik Neighbors show, and Malik Neighbors didn't play. Then they lose Devin Singletary, and Tyrone Tracy becomes a star against their defense. To be fair, they have had injuries, but you know what? Every single team's had injuries. Mike McDonald was supposed to be able to scheme past this, and the offense has. I know we got excited because they were going to throw the ball more, and I know that we thought that Shane Waldron ran the ball too much, but the complete ignoring of Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet has been an issue. So the Seahawks are not balanced on offense, and they're not getting results on defense. Now they have a short week to try and turn things around against a San Francisco team who's obviously going to be pissed off after they blew that game They blew that game against the Arizona Cardinals. I thought the fumble by Jordan Mason was the key play in that game. And if he's able to hold on to the ball, 49ers are in a much different position. So the 49ers only 2-3 this year. Seahawks are 3-2. The 49ers have a chance to even up in the NFC West standings. JC, what do you think of this line? San Francisco 49ers -3 total, 47.5.
Yeah, man, I think about it. I think of it similarly to I thought of that line against Arizona. I don't think it's really the line is what you need to worry about in this one. I think either San Francisco comes and blows out the Seahawks or they lose outright. But I think this is a perfect bounce back spot for San Francisco. The 49ers cannot afford to have another divisional loss. It seems like, I don't even want to say Seattle came back down to earth. I mean, their offense is still putting up points, but who they played is pathetic. They beat Denver, who was trash at the beginning of the season, New England and Miami. Those aren't impressive. Then they lose to Detroit and the Giants. Like, there's no reason to think this team is anything more than average. I do think they're going to put up some points as San Francisco is liable to give them up, but I think San Francisco is going to outscore them by at least a touchdown. And it's going to be a big win to help get the 49ers back on track.
Tyler, yesterday we spoke, and I said I was leaning towards the Seahawks, and you were leaning towards the Niners. Sounds like JC agrees with you. Have you changed your mind, or are you still Team 49ers here for this Thursday night showdown?
No, I think the Niners bounce back. I mean, just looking at the injury report, a lot of these guys are still banged up on Seattle's defense. Owusu's linebacker is already rolled out. Brian Murphy's questionable. Bowie Maffei's questionable. Reek Woolen's questionable. Derek Hall, Rashawn Jenkins, Julian Love. It's pretty much their whole secondary and a couple linebackers and D linemen. And we've seen how bad their defense looked against New York's offense. Just think what the San Francisco offense could do to them. So I'm on San Fran here. I think they bounce back. I know they've only won 3 of the last 13 in Seattle, but I think this is a spot where they come in and just beat Seattle. The crowd isn't much of a factor because they'll have the lead pretty fast. So I'm on Seattle.
Jayme, the main issue for the San Francisco 49ers this year.
I'm on San Francisco. I said that wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Besides tackling, which has been an issue, which is probably why all my friends were hoping that Saleh would make his return back to San Francisco this week, is that they are second in creating red zone opportunities and then 30th in converting the red zone opportunities. So they're able to move the ball down the field. In the red zone, though, this season they failed to get things done. Do you think the 49ers turn it around this week, or do you think the Seahawks put up a good performance at home on Thursday night?
Yeah, I think you're going to be in an island by yourself with Seattle. I love San Francisco this week, man. -3. I mean, Seattle has faced, or they beat Skylar Thompson, Jacoby Brissett, Bo Nix. They got shredded by Jared Goff and Daniel Jones. Got shredded by Daniel Jones, who didn't even have Malik Neighbors, who everyone thought just fixed Daniel Jones. I think San Francisco is going to absolutely kill him here, honestly. Head coaches also making their first ever Thursday night football appearances are 22-34 since 2000. And I like McDonald as a coach. I think he's a good coach, very strong defensive mind. This team is not near as good, I think, as we thought they were at the beginning of the year when they faced, like JC said, New England, Denver, and Miami. So I'm all aboard on San Francisco, man. I think San Francisco clears this number pretty easily. I mean, San Francisco is honestly a team that I was kind of fading coming in this year. I didn't think they're going to be near as good. I felt like their window for a Super Bowl was last year or the year before. They're older. Their defense isn't near as strong. But last week, and I was on the Cardinals +7.5. So I feel a little lucky honestly, because of that, because that game very easily could have been the other way, but they didn't even punt last week. They had some bad turnovers. I just don't expect that to happen. I think Brock Purdy's going to have a big game here. So yeah, give me San Francisco -3, pretty easy.
All right. Seems like the whole crew's on San Francisco here. So I will accept that. And, hey, I'm not dying to bet on Seattle. And I hate to use this for every single team, but these injuries are just destroying this team. It's almost like these guys need to practice during the offseason and they need to put on pads during training camp. I think the CBA has kind of ruined the way that we're enjoying football because they're just simply not ready. But hey, I'm not in charge of the CBA because if I was, they'd also have 70 people on their roster and not 53. Let's head back over to London. And this time we are being in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in a game that I literally have no idea what to do with. I threw the projections in right before we started the show. I have this game as a 2-point Bears win. Oh my gosh, I have this game right on the number. It's -2. I have the Bears winning by, I have them winning by 1.7, and I have it right at 44.5. I don't see a huge edge here. I loved Minnesota last week, Jayme, and I don't know what to make of this game. The Jaguars did get their first win last week. Chicago's looking pretty good at 3-2. Caleb Williams continues to improve every single game this season, and even though I'm not too high on the Bears' overall outlook, once again due to the offensive line, as a playoff team this year, also being in the toughest division in football, the team looks pretty good. Caleb keeps getting better, and I'd argue at this point he might even be better than what we're seeing out of the supposed savior of the NFL, Trevor Lawrence. Jaguars catching 2 in London. Jayme, your thoughts?
No, I'm with you. I got no real lean on the. I have it at Chicago -2 as well, but I do have a slight lean on the under here. I got it closer like 41.5. So I mean, two teams that's traveling, all the way to London. It's going to be cold. Jacksonville is an outdoor team. I don't think they're gonna. Or I'm sorry, a warm weather outdoor team, and they're going to be playing in London in mid-October. Doesn't seem very great to me. And both offenses struggle with efficiency. So the one worry about this is I do think both defenses allow some explosive plays at a high rate. So that tends to, allow the score to go up quickly. But overall, I think both teams just struggle with efficiency too much. I kind of like the under here. I could see it be a sloppy game both ways. But as far as the winner, I have no lead, man. It's hard to get a peg on both of these teams. But like you said, Caleb Williams has gone better each week. But we'll see how he looks. It's a favorable matchup. If you looked on paper for Chicago offense, like Jaguars defense is terrible. So like I said, I just think
especially their secondary. The more that I'm thinking about it, the Bears have a real defense and the Jaguars don't.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. But like I said, I still lean with the under, man. I think both teams struggle with efficiency. I think it's going to be a cold game. I just don't anticipate a lot of points here.
Maybe one advantage, JC, the Jaguars do have is they're much more used to this trip as they make it every single season. What are your thoughts here on the Sunday morning, 6:30 a.m. on the West Coast for us having our coffee and enjoying some football?
Yeah, I mean, these London games are always kind of hard to handicap. As you said, I mean, it really is a home game for the Jaguars. But I've lost money 2 weeks in a row fading the Bears, and I'm done with that. The biggest thing, as Jayme touched on, it's that I think you both mentioned it, spread as well. It's that Bears defense. Because I initially was thinking the over, but I realized that Bears defense is going to give Trevor some serious problems. So I don't think the Bears have any problem with this one. The under probably is the way to go for that reason. Bears can put up points, but the defense is going to win this game for them. So you hope for another good performance out of Caleb because, I mean, when he's playing well, he's really fun to watch. But that's going to be the difference maker in here. So go ahead and give me the under, and I'll gladly lay the points for Chicago.
All right, and Andrew, I do see your question in the chat. We'll get there at the end of the show. Get you to make sure you watch the whole thing here. Mr. Advance Rate, Andrew Robb. Tyler, what are your thoughts here as the Jaguars taking on the Bears?
Yeah, probably won't end up betting it, but if I had to, give me the team that's been there before. Give me Jacksonville. I mean, they're used to playing these games overseas. They go overseas every year. I'm pretty sure they stay there for 2 weeks, so I'll be on them again next week. I just don't trust rookie quarterbacks crossing pond, so I'll take a shot on Jacksonville. Evan Ingram's likely back this week. That could be a boost in the offense. Tank Bigsby looks way better than Etienne running the ball. Also looks like they have a bit of a running game now, so I'll take the underdog here. Give me Jacksonville.
Yeah, hopefully you're right. Tank Bigsby, one of the stars of my zero RB strategy that has yet to pay off. I looked at most of my teams that are advancing, and they are teams where I ran a hero RB. Steve wants to throw in something to support your point, Tyler. He says Jaguars won both of their London games last year. Trevor, 3-1 in London games. Let's move on to the normal Sunday slate, Tyler, the one that we actually like because we're awake for them. The Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels face their toughest test of the season when they travel to Baltimore to take on the Ravens, who definitely have found their stride on offense. They looked fantastic last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. Could have lost that game, though. If the kicker would have the holder would have held onto the ball, Cincinnati could have kicked that field goal and potentially got the win. However, they did not. The Ravens are now in first. No, they're tied for first in that division, right, Tyler? Because our Steelers lost. The Ravens are -6.
They have
go ahead.
the tiebreaker right now. They are the division leader.
Okay, they're the division
I don't know how
leader.
that works, but they have the division leader.
I have this one by 7.5, Jayme, on a line of 6. But I don't know if I want to go against Jaden Daniels and these high-flying Commanders. What do you think?
No, I love it. I'm right there with you. I got to 7.5 on the Baltimore side too. So Baltimore ranks 3rd in early down success rate. Washington ranks 22nd or 32nd, excuse me. So I think that this is going to be just a pounding of a game for Baltimore. I could see a potential shootout here too. I mean, that Washington offense at some point we're just going to have to realize that it's the real deal. You know, like we're 5 weeks into the season and Jaden Daniels looks really good. Baltimore's defense also ranks 31st in explosive plays, pass plays allowed. So Terry McLaurin's been getting it going. That offense has been getting it going. Austin Eckler came back, looked really strong last week when Brian Robinson looked a little inefficient. That's a good offense. So I could see a shootout here, but I'm definitely leading Baltimore, man. Especially when you get to 6.5 and you get underneath that key number. And when you and I both have that 7.5, it feels like a smash mouth for Baltimore. So I'm with you. Give me Baltimore. They look much better than they did in the beginning of the season, in my opinion. And they're starting to look, I mean, that Derrick Henry signing, like Lamar and Derrick Henry together is just, it's honestly a cheat code, man. They're so good together. So yeah, give me Baltimore by 6 for sure.
One thing I want to point out on the explosive plays allowed, they have played 3 really good offenses in Kansas City, Buffalo, and Cincinnati. So
I will say, though,
maybe skewing those statistics, right? I mean, you want to go against some Carolinas and some.
Yeah, but Kansas City, though, they do rank, I think, like dead last in explosive plays. Like they have like the lowest ADOT in the league. So because it's mostly been just, you know, the whole year has been short underneath things.
But
Rashid
they did
Rice.
play the full strength Kansas City team and not the current Kansas City team.
That's true. I mean, that's definitely true. But we've seen it. I mean, yeah, of course, when you play
they also
Cincinnati and
played
Jamar Chase.
What? They played Dallas. They played Dallas too, another explosive team.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Jayme also made a good point. I did not mention this is the game with the highest total on the board, JC, at 53. Are you getting involved in this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really tough one, right? I mean, everyone knows a young team like Washington is eventually going to meet their match and be embarrassed. You think about the Texans last year; they had that embarrassing loss to the Panthers. They lost one to the Jets. It's coming. It's inevitable. And while this seems like the spot for it, I'm not going to lay 6.5 with Baltimore, right? Like I'm not going to bet against this Washington team as they're playing like this. I think the over is a way better way to go and just, you know, enjoy this game for what it is. Yesterday I said Baltimore is the team Washington hopes to become. So it's going to be a really great test. It's going to be fun to see this Washington team play a top competitor in the league. I'm just not comfortable taking a side in this one, but I'll gladly take over 52.
All right. I have 53 offshore, so if you have a 52, that's a pretty good number. Steve agrees with you. Tyler, how are you approaching this game?
You guys talked about Baltimore giving up the explosive plays and them having to play really good offenses. Mm-hmm. You want to know when your offense looks really good? When you play really bad defenses. The Giants, Cincinnati, Arizona, the Browns that have quit at this point. Washington's offense, it's good, but I don't think it's as good as we have seen over the last 4 weeks. And I think Baltimore brings them right back down to earth this week. I think Baltimore absolutely lays the hammer down on Washington. What team's more ready for Jaden Daniels than Baltimore? They see him every day in practice in Lamar Jackson.
That's a good point.
Good point.
Go ahead, JC.
For sure. But, I mean, again, you know, they can't apologize for their schedule. So while I completely hear what you're saying, they haven't gotten a chance to play a real defense. So
I agree there.
Yeah.
But
to
it's
Tyler's
just
point, though, that is one of the things I like to do because we see how close the projections are. We got to really use strength of schedule. And I think he makes a good point there. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I just think they're overpriced at this point. They're the shiny toy. Jaden Daniels is 11-1 to win MVP. He's up there with the big names, and he has no shot at winning it. This is where Houston was last year when everyone wanted to run and bet him, and then they blew up in everyone's faces. What better team than Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson to just put Washington in the dirt here? So I think this is the spot they come back down to earth. They're a good team. I still think they win the NFC East, but I think this is the spot they come back down to earth.
All right, fair enough. And we'll see if that ends up making the sheet. Probably fading this team right now. I do like the excitement that Jaden brings to the team, and I think it's they're really going to be fired up for this game. I mean, this is going to be the biggest game I think in Washington's played in the last 5 years. I mean, they snuck into the playoffs one year, right? But I mean, they're really excited, and this is a chance to prove themselves. Let's see what Steve says before we move on to the next game. I think the point Tyler is making is Baltimore's defense has probably played the toughest offensive schedule, and Washington's offenses played perhaps the easiest
No doubt.
schedule. Yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. So thank you for that, Steve. And let's move on. Jayme, I told you this is one of my bigger edges this week. To be fair, though, I had Arizona losing by 10 last week to the San Francisco 49ers. And not only did they cover the spread, they won straight up. But once again, my projections do like Green Bay. Let me scroll down. I have this as a 7.5-point win on a game that is lined at -5 for me offshore. Your favorite team, the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love they'll be heading back home now. They take on the Cardinals, who I really don't know what to make of this team. At the halftime, I said, this team sucks so bad. They're so terrible. And they look pretty good in the second half. And Marvin Harrison and Kyler really have yet to even make a connection here, and we expect that to improve. Also, I'd be interested to hear your take, since we are talking about the Packers, about this Romeo Dobbs, however you say his name, situation. A lot of people were talking about that, and if it wasn't for Saleh getting fired, that might be the top story today. Talk to me about what you think. Should I trust my projections here and lay it with the Packers?
Yeah. So first off, on the Dobbs thing, man, that was honestly a little bit surprising. Although I did read some reports before he was drafted that some people said he was kind of a head case a little bit in college. But I mean, he plays the most snaps out of any of the wide receivers. He was second in targets with Jordan Love so far this year. He was the guy who kind of dominated in the playoffs. So him acting that way was a little bit surprising. It feels like it's very obvious that on that Wednesday practice or whatever it was, they went over the game plan and kind of showed that he was not going to be the vocal point of that offense. And he clearly got a little offended about that. So that was surprising. I haven't seen today, since we've been on or not. This is normally when I get like notifications with Green Bay, but it sounded like yesterday he was going to be back at practice today. Everything I would imagine would be smoothed over. But in my opinion, he's the fourth best wide receiver on the team when the team's fully healthy.
Really?
Not even close, honestly, in my opinion. Jaden Reed, I mean, is by far better. Christian Watson obviously is hurt, so that's an issue, but we all know how I feel about him. And Dontavian Wicks, I mean, yeah, he struggles with the drops a little bit, but so did Devontae Adams in year two. So skill-wise, I think Dontavian Wicks is much better than Dobbs. Dobbs is a fine receiver, but in my opinion, he's the fourth best receiver on that team. And if we want to throw in tight ends, and he's the fifth. So that's
We should got above Musgrave.
Yeah, he's above Musgrave for sure. And like I said, I do like Dobbs. I think he's a fine receiver, but I just don't think someone who hasn't really earned anything should be acting that way on a young team that's all pretty hungry to win. I mean, Christian Watson, I think it was week 2, didn't even have a single target, and he didn't say a single word. So it's like, this is just the way the offense is. They don't throw the ball a ton anyways, usually. But as far as this game goes, yeah, 7.5 is a little high. I got it as Packers at 6.1 favorites here. So I still lean Green Bay on the spread here. But the one thing I will say is a little bit concerning to me, and it kind of goes back to what I said last year, is Green Bay ranked 6th in dropback EPA per play in the second half, but they ranked 21st in the first half. And this is something I pointed out in the first half of the season last year, was that this team was so much more or less efficient in the first half of games. And in the second half of the games, they just became a much, much better team. So that to me is a little bit of a concern. They ranked first in explosive pass plays. They ranked second in explosive rush plays. So this team really relies on the big play so far. And we even saw that last week. They had multiple 3-and-outs, but they did have that one drive where, Love threw the ball 70 yards in triple coverage. It gave me Brett Favre PTSD. So, but they caught it, and then He is so much like, I'm telling you, if Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre had a baby, man, it would be Jordan Love. Like, he has all the talent in the world, but he literally is like, his decision making at times can be a little questionable. But overall, man, I still think that this team has not hit the groove yet. Their defense is vulnerable. Like last week, when I was on the prop show, I hit on the Jordan Whittington alt receptions, all the way from like 4, 5, 6 to 7 that all hit. Because this team defense is vulnerable, but the key with this defense is they lead the league in takeaways. So when you're turning the ball over and you're winning the turnover game, you're just going to win a lot of games. So I do think that is going to be a strength here. I think Kyler does, he struggles a bit. Some weeks he looks really good. Some weeks he looks really bad. So overall, I'm with you. Arizona defense, they rank 32nd in early down success rate. Green Bay's offense only ranks 23rd because, like I said, they've kind of struggled to move the ball early on in the games, unless it's an explosive play. But I still, like I said, I think this team hasn't really found its full groove yet. They still haven't been fully healthy. I expect this team to get a win here, and I expect them. Last week, when you guys were on, I called out when Tyler was all over the Green Bay by 3, and I even said Green Bay alt by 10. And we almost had it. They're just too inefficient. They allowed that late score by Los Angeles here. So I'm with you. I like Green Bay. They should also get Jair Alexander back this week. That thing's going to help quite a bit. But I'm with you. And also, I know Tyler last week said the Green Bay take the Green Bay Super Bowl tickets. There's still time, spread. There's still time. When you look around
the NFC tickets, I just think the winner's coming out of the AFC this year.
Okay, that's fine. I should say at least to make the NFC or to make win the NFC championship.
Yeah,
to represent the NFC. I mean, because if you
want to have a 25-1 in your pocket when they play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and you can just hammer the Chiefs.
Oh, we don't get that negativity out of here. All right, we're not hammering. But I get it's the hedge. It's the hedge.
I'm just saying for the.
No, and you're probably right.
We all know. And we all know a Super Bowl isn't getting lined any farther than 3.5. So you're gonna have the chance to hedge.
No, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. And if you look around the NFC, what team really just screams out to you like the Packers can't beat? In my opinion, the toughest team is going to be Detroit, which I do think is a real threat. Detroit's very good, but outside of that, every other team in the NFC I feel like is beatable for the Packers. I mean, San Francisco is a good team, yeah, of course, but they don't look. We just lost to Arizona, they lost to Rams earlier this year. Like, I just don't see a team. And yeah, Minnesota, they are 5-0, but the Packers make one field goal. They beat them last week. They allowed 3 points in the whole second half off Love's first game back. So I think that Green Bay's a good bet to take for. Again, am I biased? Yes. 100%. There's no doubt about it. But I'm also realistic. So I definitely think that this team has a chance to make a good run. I don't think they found their groove yet. I think they get back on track this week against Arizona.
My thoughts on your NFC ticket are Detroit. Number one, their weakness is they need to be at home.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think they can go on road.
If they go to Lambeau,
San Francisco is as weak as they're looking right now. They seem to have Green Bay's number when it comes to these playoff games. So that could be an issue as well. What's up?
I'll say that was Rodgers. And
the savior of the Jets.
But you want to know my thought real quick is that I think Green Bay is very, very similar to the 49ers. Kraft is almost George Kittle. Jaden Reed is Deebo Samuel. I think Dontavian Wicks could be Brandon Ayuk. Jordan Love is a better version of Brock Purdy. I think that the Packers are like the younger version of what the 49ers have been the last few years, in my opinion. And also a great coach. LaFleur is, I said it last year. He was my coach of the year pick. LaFleur is a great, great coach, man. So get on board, spread. Don't miss out before that number shoots up. All right.
I love this breakdown here. Yeah. And going back to my point, right? If Green Bay would have kowtowed to Aaron Rodgers, LaFleur would have been gone. So he could have had Hackett run the team. So it shows once again the difference between a well-run organization that we see in Green Bay and a terribly run organization that we see in New York. JC, I feel that we have a pretty good handle on who this Green Bay Packers team is. Arizona, I have no idea what I'm looking at, which is why I'm having problems getting involved in this game, even though my projections like the Packers. What do you think?
Yeah, Arizona is the ultimate wildcard team this season. Hard to get involved in how they're playing, so I'm just going to take a pass on this one.
Fair enough. Tyler, what do you think, man? Should we lay it again with the Packers? I was hesitant last week. You told me pull the trigger on the Packers, and I was happy, and my account was happy that I listened to you. Should I listen to you again, or do we take our feet off the gas here?
No, I think we're going to be on the Packers. I just want to make sure Jari Alexander's in there. Once he's announced in, we're on the Packers. I could see a pathway where if he is out, that Marv Harrison and Kyler backdoor you and keep that game close. So they can move it through the air with no Jari Alexander in there. If he's in there, give me Green Bay. And
one thing that we have to be excited about, remember when I was breaking down the game last week, and one of the reasons I liked San Francisco was when they got out of the script, Kyler was inefficient. Well, he rectified that last week with the second half comeback. And I saw this game flash off the board while we were talking, and now it's back up, and we know why. Because Steve put in the chat, Drake May officially starting this week. I don't know if that's the right call, but from what I've read, it was the necessary call because Mayo was in danger of losing the locker room. Kind of weird, but whatever. The problem's the offensive line, so too bad they can't switch those starters. Now the Houston Texans are laying 7. Jayme, I don't like these games. I have the Texans winning by 6.5, and I have this game once again right on the total. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I have Houston by 7, and obviously this is before the Drake May news. I just looked at my numbers real quick, and so I only have a half point of a drop off. Of course, we don't really have much data with Drake May to go off of.
We're guessing.
It's on. You're exactly right. It's pretty much a guessing game. So I don't think much is going to change here. I do have some concern with how Houston's offense looked without Nico. They really struggled honestly late in that game to move the football once Nico went down, and they also run way more than I would like, to be honest. I mean, maybe now when you lose Nico, but when you have the start of that game was so frustrating to me, man. When you have Nico, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell, and they're giving the ball to I'm Dyer. You guys know I'm gonna butcher his last name, Ugawale or whatever his name is. Yeah, it's like he touched the ball 6 times in the first 8 plays, and I'm just like, what is going on here, man? So they still try to establish it a little bit. I'm not sure if Mixon's going to be back. It kind of seems like he re-injured himself last week. So I'm not too interested in this game at all. So this is going to be a stay-away game for me too, for sure. Especially with
reminder, Slowick is from the Shanahan tree. And as much as we give Shanahan and LaFleur credit for their innovative play calling, when the quarterbacks do drop back, they do have a higher run percentage than almost any coach in the league. So that doesn't surprise me that that's what we're seeing from Slowick. And even though you lose a little bit of efficiency there, I think it's good for setting up and getting those offensive linemen moving forward and not allowing the defense to pin their ears back. JC, we don't really know what's going on with Drake May. Could he be an upgrade? Yes, but I would think that in his first start, we have to think that's going to be a downgrade from a veteran who did not turn the ball over at all. That being said, I still don't see any reason to get involved here. Do you?
No, absolutely not. I was kind of thinking about laying that 7 when it was Brissett, just because of how abysmal the Patriots have looked at this point in the season and how great the Texans looked last week. But no interest now. The last thing you want is to get burned by Drake May. And how many times have we seen it too, where first game quarterback like that comes out, looks great, and then we all run to bet him his second week, and then you get burned there as well. So I'm going to wait, see a few weeks of Drake May before I bet on any game involving the Patriots.
Tyler, JC makes a good point. Maybe the lack of film on Drake May will hamper the Texans' preparation a bit. Also, Nico Collins had firmly established himself as the number 1 receiver. Diggs a little bit past his prime, but he should be happy. He's going to be getting fed this week. What are your thoughts, Tyler?
Yeah, I think Houston still wins the game. I probably won't bet the side.
And we don't do teasers anymore, so F it, right?
No, not going to bet a teaser here, but I will say one thing. Drake May is going to push the ball downfield. This Jalen Polk receiver, I don't know if you guys know who he is. You will know after Sunday.
Yep. Great. Because I have a ton of him in best ball, and he's been an absolute dud so far this year. So maybe this is an opportunity for him to finally jump into one of my lineups.
That's a teaser for Thursday's show, the prop show.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm definitely enjoying that show. And I'm sure you guys are enjoying it too, because you don't have to listen to me. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are -3. They're heading to New Orleans to take on the Saints. Short week for the Saints. And like I said before, Jayme, with the issues that this team is having with the offensive line, And Derek Carr's one of those guys where if everything's perfect, he's a Pro Bowler. The second he gets a little bit of pressure. Right? Right? I'm
Turns
Fred
into a
Astaire.
pumpkin.
He looks like Fred Astaire, tapping those feet in the pocket, right? So to me, it's Buccaneers or pass. I think the Saints might take a little money, though. Tyler, and also maybe I should look this up. I have this as the 2.5. Or you put 2.5 on the sheet. I have it at -3 right now. I'm going to check the trends real quick, though. Is this one of those games where the one team always wins? I'll look that up, but Jayme, break this game down for me while I do that.
Yeah, this is, I mean, real quick, this is going to be stay away from me. It was a 4-point swing after the Carr injury. And based off my numbers, I have Carr to Hayner as a 4.2-point swing. So it's about right on. This is just going to be a stay away. Tampa Bay's looked really good. 4th and early down pass rate over expectation. But Nora, like you said, Saints defense is strong, regardless of what we think about that offense and the injuries they have in the offensive line. They've been very strong against the pass. The Saints do rank 26 in explosive pass play, but Tampa Bay's, they're not throwing the ball downfield near as much this year. It's much more underneath stuff, especially the Godwin in the slot. So this is going to be a stay away from me. I have no real interest in taking either side here.
Oh, you know what I was thinking? Is Carr even playing?
No, that's what I was
If
saying.
he's
Yeah,
not playing,
Carr.
this 2.5 is free if Carr's out.
Well, I think it moved. I think if I remember right, I think it was a 4-point swing. I think it opened at -1.5 on the Saints side. So it was about a 4-point swing. And when I looked at my power ratings with quarterbacks, I have Carr to Hayner as a 4.2 swing. So it seems pretty accurate. Unless I was mistaken, but I think this opened Saints -1.5.
Tyler, where's your best buddy Spencer Rattler? How come he's not playing?
Yeah.
I don't know. They had him as a healthy scratch. Figured it'd be the rat season in New Orleans, but guess they're keeping him on ice.
The rat season. All right. Let's see if he'll be as cool as my guy Shredder. I was right. Tampa Bay or New Orleans is 9-3 against the spread in their last 12 against Tampa. However, Tampa Bay is 9-3 against the spread in their last 12 games on the road. And New Orleans 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 home games. JC, I'm fine sitting this one out. But do you think we're leaving money on the table by not playing Tampa Bay?
No, especially with it being a divisional game. I mean, these in this division, man, these games get wild, and you really never know what's going to happen. I don't really want to make a play, especially with Tampa Bay having a pretty mediocre run defense. Even with Carr out, it just might be a game where Kamara eats, and then they pull up the upset. So definitely staying out of this one.
Tyler, what do you think? Do we get involved? To me, it seems like it's Tampa or pass.
If Tampa Bay's
against young quarterbacks.
If Tampa Bay's injury report gets a little cleaner before Sunday, I will be on Tampa Bay. If Winfield plays, I'm not even worried about the 2 receivers and Palmer and McMillan. They can miss. I mean, the 2 main guys for Tampa Bay are enough, and the 2 running backs look decent. So I think they have enough to beat what's probably going to be a Jake Hayner-led team. And they haven't fully announced that Carr's out yet. And when they do, this number is going to drop even farther. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay's -4.5 before Sunday.
Yeah, the more we talk about this game, the more I think I want to get involved with Tampa. Because if it's that rookie quarterback, Bowles is going to eat his lunch. That's what Bowles loves to do. Bowles loves to welcome people to the NFL the harshest way possible. Speaking of harsh, can you imagine being a Cleveland Browns fan? Geez, I thought being a Raiders fan was bad. At least we have hope next year. Browns are never going to be good. And once again, I talk about bad ownership. And you fully guaranteed this contract, and now you're reaping the rewards of a terrible, terrible decision. I can't believe Stefanski hasn't lost the locker room. I mean, how did the Patriots players call for Drake May before the Browns players called for Jameis Winston? This is absolutely unfathomable to me. Unfortunately, the books think the same because this is the highest line on the board. And Philadelphia is a team that I don't think should be laying 9.5 to anybody unless that team is the Cleveland Browns, in which case it seems about right. Jayme, what do we do with this game? It feels like they priced me away from it, but I can't back the Browns under any circumstances.
No, unfortunately, I backed the Browns last week against Washington, so here I am, right? So,
You did?
I did. I did.
What was you thinking there?
I had it. I thought they were going to win outright. To be honest, I thought it should have been closer to like a pick 'em. that was wrong. I just thought they were going to be able to move the ball. I mean, Deshaun Watson, sometimes he plays really good, sometimes he doesn't, man. But this team is.
When did he play good? 2020.
I mean, the two games who they play the week before that. I can't remember who they
He
played.
played the Raiders and they lost.
That wasn't his fault. A really bad holding call on Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper dropped the ball, hit the ball right in his chest, interception. If you look at the advanced numbers that game in EPA per play, Deshaun Watson actually played really well that game. This game he did. They just weren't very good at all. And I mean, they ranked 32nd in early down success rate, so they just really struggled to move the ball early on in these games in the first and second down. But I'm with you. I like Philly here, especially coming off a bye. Philly was a team I was higher on to start the season. I really like the additions of Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. They kind of have struggled a little bit early on. I mean, they easily could be 1-3 right now. But I'm with you. I got Philly by 9 here. I think they definitely cover this. Cleveland's terrible against the run. They rank 32nd in red zone rush EPA. They rank 31st in red zone rush success rate. Barkley's going to have a heyday. They also are terrible in explosive plays, pass plays, run plays. I think we're going to see a lot of points here. AJ Brown's going to be back. Devontae Smith's going to be back. This to me feels like just a great spot for Philly to kind of get right. So I'm with you. Give me the Eagles here.
Yeah, JC. I mean, the Browns. They're the only reason that I don't think the Raiders are the worst run franchise in the NFL. What are your thoughts?
There is no way I'm laying that many points. I don't think Cleveland's going to win some games this season, and I could see this being one of the ones that they win. So
in Philly off a bye?
Yeah. I have such little faith in both these teams. There's no way they can cover that massive spread. I think it's just going to be an ugly, gross, close game. Under's probably a good look as well, but I'll go ahead. If you want to give me 9 points, I'll take it.
Wow.
Right. I will say the thing is, giving Vic Fangio 2 weeks to prepare for Deshaun Watson. I mean, I think the kicker here is if Jameis Winston does come in, right? I think that could definitely change things. But
can you imagine how much the team's going to just be uplifted? I remember when Trey Lance was starting for the Niners, and I bet on the Arizona Cardinals, and he got hurt, and Jimmy came in, and you see the whole offensive line just like perk up, and I'm like throwing stuff like I lost. Like I think it's going to be huge for that team and the morale. So I guess that is the kicker there. If we saw Jameis second half, then I'd probably want the points. Yeah.
I think that's the key. But with Watson, man, Vic Fangio, there's just no way he is not prepared for what Deshaun Watson and this inept offense is going to bring. And Nick Sirianni might be the worst head coach in the NFL. I cannot stand that guy, honestly. Like some of his decision making late in games is just like honestly mind blowing. I had the Eagles and was it week 3 against the Saints, and I think they're leading the game with like 4 or 5 minutes left. And he tries to kick like a 63-yard field goal with a few minutes left in the game instead of punting and pinning the team back. And I'm just like, what is he doing? And then that other week against Atlanta, and then he throws the ball on 3rd down. Yeah, Barkley should have caught it, but you shouldn't have thrown it. And then you should have went for it on 4th down anyways. He's just an absolute moron. But Kellen Moore is actually a good offensive coordinator. And now that they're getting all their weapons back, I don't know. And I could be biased. Like I said, I was high on the Eagles coming into the season, so maybe I still have a little bit of that bias in me. But yeah, I mean, 9 points. JC's right. 9 points is a lot for an Eagles team that just has not looked very good. So I could see it.
Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not betting this game. It's too many points. The Eagles should win, but I'm not laying 9 with them. So that's pretty much it for me on this one.
There's a lot of confusing games this week. The Colts are -1 against Tennessee coming off a bye. Is Mason Rudolph starting?
I don't think we know that yet.
Yeah, I didn't think we got confirmation yet either. I think if Rudolph starts, you might be able to talk me into the Titans. Colts, I'm happy to fade them on the road. However, we're not getting very many points there. Let me see I could pull up my projections, but do they even matter? I have the Colts winning by half a point, but because Rudolph will change everything, I really don't know what to do here. I don't know what to do with this game. I'm fine staying away from it. Jayme, am I leaving money off the table if I refuse to bet this game?
No, I'm with. Well, there's too much uncertainty at the quarterback position. Honestly, this is the weird situation on both of these teams. I have the backup quarterback have more value than the starting quarterback. I have Flacco about a half a point.
True.
I have Flacco about half a point more valuable than Richardson, and I have
Only half.
only half. I do think Richardson has some when his rushing is going, there's a lot more value there. We have not just fully seen it so far this year, and he does have a really good arm, but he is super inefficient with the ball. But still, Flacco about a half. But I have Rudolph 2 points better than Will Levis. So that to me is a massive. If that changes a lot. If Mason Rudolph is playing, I have no issue back in Tennessee. Will Levis is just he's terrible, man. He's very, very bad. So I'm with you. This is gonna be a stay away. I lean Indianapolis -1 if Levis starts, but without knowing the information, it's just stay away from me.
Yeah, JC, I think it's tough to get involved in this game right now on Tuesday. I know that I've had success betting early in the week and just listening to Tyler because otherwise I listen to all these podcasts and I get confused. But I'm fine staying away from this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we could go through all the different combinations of how we're going to bet it if it's this quarterback versus this quarterback, but we're already an hour deep into this show, so I won't waste people's time with that.
Tyler, any thoughts on this game, or do we want to just make it the skipper and be like Gilligan?
Let's get to the 4 p.m. slate spread. We don't need to bet this game.
The 1 p.m. slate for us people living out here in the beautiful land of the West Coast. No hurricanes at all, just fires. We're just burning up, but we don't get wet. The Los Angeles Chargers take on my favorite underrated team, Bo Nix, Sean Payton, Patrick Surtain. That's his name, right? Yeah, the best cornerback in the league right now. Denver Broncos catching 3 at home. Jayme, to me, it's Broncos are past. What do you think?
Yeah, I got no lean on the side here. I do like the under in this game.
35.5?
It moved down, so I got it at 37.
Okay, good call.
Yeah, so I got it at 37 a couple days ago, but the 35.5, I mean, honestly, this screams like a 17-13 type game, to be honest. Like, there's no point, going into all the details. There's a lot of volatility in Bo Nix. Some weeks he looks really good. Some weeks he looks really bad. Chargers coming off of a bye. Jim Harbaugh's a great coach. They got a strong defense. They have 2 weeks to prepare for Bo Nix. So I think they can cause some problems, and the Chargers just play really slow. So for me, it's the under, and I'm staying away from the side.
JC, one thing that the Chargers do have, and one of the reasons why I'm not pounding the table to bet the Broncos, Joe Alt will be returning, and Derwin James will be returning. 2 key pieces on each side of the ball. What are your thoughts on this one?
Man, I mean, you got to look like how Denver has looked the past few weeks, or a couple weeks, I guess I should say. So there is that problem, right, of Chargers coming off a bye. Again, this is another division that has very weird interdivisional games. Slight lean towards the Broncos, especially getting points. 35 is a pretty low total. I might take the over as well. But, yeah, nothing real heavy on this one for me.
Tyler, you going to be pounding the table for the Chargers against my guy Bo Nix?
If Alt and Slater play, yeah, I think the Chargers crush them. I think they'll be able to run the ball. I think Herbert will be smart with his passes. He's not going to put it where Surtain can get it and make plays. He's going to use Lyle McConkey and the tight ends. So I'm on the Chargers as long as those 2 tackles play. If they don't play, stay away.
So Alt's playing for sure. Slater, we're waiting to hear about. So I think Alt is from what I'm seeing, he's going to play. Tyler, I'm going to stay with you on this one because our 2 favorite teams face off. The Pittsburgh Steelers, who disappointed us last Sunday, and as disappointed as that was, bro, did you see that thing that I sent you guys about George Pickens not even trying when he's not the first 2 reads that Warren Sharp put out? That has to be disappointing for Steelers fan because he's their only receiver. But obviously the Steelers defense is way better. Their organization is way better. Their coaching is way better. I mean, Antonio Pierce is just great value. Mike Tomlin, if he's even that. I don't know what's an even more generic brand than that. But Pierce wants to be Tomlin. Tomlin is Tomlin. What are your thoughts here, Tyler? Are we taking your team once again?
Nope. Staying away from
Why
this
not?
game.
What's up?
Because they're 3-8 in their last 11 ATS wise against Vegas, and they are 1-4 ATS in their last 5 trips to Vegas. And you guys just have a way of beating us, and this seems like one of those dumb spots. We would bet it because we love the Steelers, and we would lose money on Sunday. So no, we're not betting it.
All right. Tyler won't let me bet on his favorite team, JC. Have you reconsidered, and are you come to the conclusion that the Raiders do have the best uniforms in sports?
No. I mean, that's the take I've been sitting on for years, and I don't see my opinion on that changing anytime soon. This does seem like a really nice spot again to hammer the under on a Steelers game, but no interest in taking a side here for sure. Definitely, probably that lean towards Pittsburgh, but I'm not my favorite look on the board.
Jayme, as a Raiders fan, I'm scarred. If there wasn't fantasy, if there wasn't gambling, if I wasn't interested in the NFL at all, and all I cared about was the Raiders, I would be hiking every Sunday from here on out here in this beautiful California weather that we're having. However, I am curious to see your thoughts. This would be a Raiders thing to do, right? To win a game that we all expect them to lose, because that's the only time they seem to have a chance. Tomlin also not very good as a favorite, right? We want to take Tomlin as a dog. And we saw him fail as a favorite once again. Actually, this is 2 weeks in a row he's failed as a favorite, right? Because he was favored against the Colts too. Could be some dissension in that locker room. I mean, if Warren Sharp saw it, he's not the only people to know that their number one receiver and really their only option. I mean, who's the other guy? Van Jefferson? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And the Steelers can't even run against the Cowboys. As bad as the Raiders are, I do think that we have a fairly good defense. Like, for example, last week I felt like we were playing fine and they just gave up because they're like, this is our quarterback. Like, we got to go out here again, another 3 and out. To a certain extent, the defense is helped complementary football with the offense. What do you think here when the Steelers take on the Raiders?
Do we know who's starting, Minshew or AOC? He hasn't said he has he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I got Minshew as a half point better, so it's really not that much of a difference, to be honest. But I'm a JC. I do lean the under. I'm going to stay away from a side. I mean, Vegas is weird, man. They ranked 8th in early down pass rate over expectation, but they ranked 30th in early down success rate. So it's like, yeah, they're passing the ball early, but they're not being very successful with that. And last week we did see, they started off pretty well with Brock Bowers. They got to get Bowers the ball more, man. He's just so clearly the best player on that offense. They got to get him. I mean, he needs to see 10 targets every single week, in my opinion. But this is going to be a stay away from me. Like I said, I lean the under, but I got no faith on either side right here.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about the Jets being the bad organization, and I think that my Raiders definitely fit into that. There's no cohesiveness. There's no plan. They're running a zone blocking scheme with the power running back and Zamir White. He was a player that we really liked because he was expected to be a bell cow, and he's been absolutely terrible. And I think that's one of the reasons why the statistics that you just mentioned are there, because the runs on first down are bringing the early down success rate so bad. So they're only good when they get back and sling it, but that's not the way this team was built. So everything is out of sync when it comes to the Las Vegas Raiders. The Atlanta Falcons, Meg's favorite team, Kirk Cousins. Woohoo! Yeah. Good. Oh, wow. Wonderful. And he should do good again because he's playing the Carolina Panthers. Tyler, let's start with you. What are your thoughts here? Falcons are laying 6.5 against Andy Dalton and the Panthers.
Yeah, kind of like an Atlanta team total here over. I think they probably get to close to 30 points. I think Bijan has a day against his rushing defense. Everyone's been bitching about him in fantasy. This is going to be his explosion spot. Drake London's getting peppered with the ball. He's working in Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod. He was revived last week too, so I'm on Atlanta here. Carolina's fun story was fun for 1 week, and I think it's over now, so I think this is Atlanta.
Yeah, leave it to the Raiders to make the terrible team look good. JC, what are your thoughts here? Falcons minus 6.5, total of 48.
Yeah, I got burned by the Panthers. I thought they were going to have a nice game against the Bears. They did not. Been really impressed by what we've seen from Atlanta at this point in the season. I wouldn't be blown away if Carolina somehow pulled this out, but I'll go ahead and risk the money and lay the points with Atlanta.
Jayme, how are you approaching this game?
Yep, let's keep the train moving. I got Atlanta. I get the favorite by 7.5 here, man. So anytime you can get underneath that 7, I think that's valuable. So I'm gonna be all over it, man. Last 2 weeks, 73% and 79% pass rate in neutral game scripts. They lead the league in neutral pace. This team is moving the football. They're throwing the football. Drake London that guy is really, really talented. He's finally got a quarterback to give him the ball, and we're seeing it. So and I'm also with Tyler. I think it's gonna be a big Bijan game. And I sure hope so, because I thought I was smart by fading CMC. I had Bijan as my 101. So I literally have almost 0 CMC shares. But the issue is Bijan really hasn't done much either. So so it's not like it's been super valuable. But he's been hurt. They played on a short week last week. I'm hoping that now that they had a little extra rest, he'll bounce back. And Carolina's D is terrible, man. This team sucks. So yeah, give me Atlanta. I like the team total over, and I like Atlanta by 7 or by 6.5 here.
All right. Looks like everybody likes the Falcons, and Kirk Cousins has become the player that the Jets fans hoped that Aaron Rodgers would be. The Detroit Lions are -3 in Dallas, taking on the Cowboys, 52.5. I don't like laying 3 on the road with the Lions. What do you think, Jayme?
Oh man, I'm opposite here. So I will say I got in at Detroit -2.5 last week.
Okay.
So obviously that changed a little bit, but I still like them here, man. I think Detroit's, like I said earlier, a really, really good team. They rank first in early down success rate. They dominate against the run. And Dallas struggles to defend the run. They rank 32nd in rush EPA, 29th in rush success rate, 31st and 32nd in red zone EPA and success rate. This team is just not very good to go against the run. And this physical team, like Detroit, just not a team you want to go up against if you struggle to defend the run. I think the Cowboys are a fraudulent team. I'm not impressed by any of their wins. They win on thin margins. I think Detroit's going to come in here and lay the smackdown on them, to be honest. So yeah, give me Detroit here. Like I said, I got 2.5. I like the 3. If it goes 3.5, I'm fine with it. Honestly, I think they clear here by a touchdown.
What do you think, JC?
Yeah, I mean, kind of picking a lot of favorites for this slate, which I don't love, but this is another one. It's Jayme nailed it. I don't even think calling them frauds is too much, because I don't know if anyone who thinks they're legit. I mean,
Sure.
That was a nice win they had against Pittsburgh, but this is just a team I have no faith in. Detroit's on the rise. They're kind of looking more like that team we saw last season. 52 is a wild total, but I mean, Detroit did put up 42 on Seattle. This will be a nice indoor game for them, so weather won't be a factor. Well, it's not at home, they still get that benefit. So maybe take it under on Dallas's team total in Detroit money line, something like that. But I don't got a problem laying 3 for the Lions here.
Tyler, do you think the Cowboys will be able to build off the momentum they discovered in Pittsburgh last Sunday?
No, they're getting smashed. This is the easiest game to bet on the board.
You think so?
-3. They're coming off a bye. Dallas wouldn't have beat 25 other teams in that Sunday night game if they would have been able to just run the ball or get some kind of drive sustained in the second half. The Steelers would have got out of that game with a win, but they couldn't. They gave Dallas so many chances to steal that game, and they finally got it on the last drive on the last play. Detroit's not going to give them that chance. I mean, Detroit was able to beat them last year when their defense was fully healthy, and they were a much better team. They're going to be coming in hobbled. I know they got the win last week. I think it's just mispricing them in this game a little bit. I think Detroit beats them by 7, maybe 10. I think they have this game handed. Like, they have this game won by halftime. And give me the under here, too. These Detroit games still keep getting lined in the 50s. And I'm pretty sure every Detroit game that's been lined in the 50s has gone under this year. So I am taking the under here, and we'll see what happens. Maybe Detroit burns me and hangs a 40 piece. But I don't think they're going to let Dallas score much. So it's going to really all rely on Detroit here. So give me Detroit in the under.
Detroit 3-1 to the under. The one game that did go over was against Seattle. Sunday Night Football, Cincinnati Bengals -3. They're 1-4. Jayme, it's essentially a must-win. They're taking on the New York Giants, coming off a big win over the Seattle Seahawks. To the Bengals finally get right? Feels like we ask this question every week.
I know, but I love Cincinnati here. I think they're going to actually roll them, to be honest. Giants, I don't think are near as good of a team. Like I said, they did look really good last week, but it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier at the beginning of the show about Seattle. I just don't think Seattle is near as good as people think too. Malik Neighbors will come back, which will definitely help. But Cincinnati's honestly had some bad luck, man. They could easily have 3 or 4 wins by now, just off some late things against the Chiefs, just against this last game against the Ravens. Just some bad things have gone their way. With their second early down pass rate over expectation, they're ranked 3rd in dropback EPA and success rate. The Giants defense is not very good. Joe Burrow has been playing really, really well. Jamar Chase has been playing really, really well. So I like them quite a bit here. Their defense does suck. So that's always going to be an issue. But either way, I think they're going to be able to put up enough points here. So I like Cincinnati quite a bit.
JC, do you think the Giants can build off that momentum they gained last week against Seattle?
Man, this is a tough one for me. I mean, especially since all season I've been preaching. I've been saying Cincinnati is so much worse than teams realize. I've been saying New York is better than teams realize. And it's finally
That's a good point, huh?
Yeah, it's really reached ahead with these two teams facing off. 3.5. That's just that's a tough number. I mean, it really looks like Cincinnati's improving. And right, I wasn't writing them off as a whole, but it was just a statement of the product that we are having to bet on is very bad with the Cincinnati Bengals. They obviously had a tremendous ceiling, but they weren't playing to that. And we've seen it's a little bit of increase week after week. They're putting up points, they're scoring, and I think that's what it's going to come down to is I don't think the Giants are going to be able to keep up with the scoring the Bengals are doing. But at 3.5, I don't want to get involved. Those are the kind of numbers that screw you. And as I said, I do think the Giants are better than people realizing. I'm not saying they're a great team or anything like that, but for that reason, I would love to stand on the table for the Giants here, but I just can't do it. I'm gonna have to pass on this one.
All right. Steve likes the over and the Bengals in this game. What do you like, Tyler?
Yeah, give me Bengals team total over and the Bengals cover the spread. I mean, I know the Giants have been fun for a couple weeks. They beat up on Seattle's defense that Tyrone Tracy and Eric Gray were able to catch screens on and just go for 50 yards. I know Cincinnati's defense hasn't been all that great. They played Baltimore last week. Baltimore's hanging that score on anybody they play this year. I'm not named Kansas City. So I think that Cincinnati's offense just goes out there. They do their job. They put up 30 against this Giants defense. And Daniel Jones and those guys can't keep up. So I'm on Cincinnati.
All right. Jayme, Tyler, JC, and I will discuss the Monday Night Football game on Monday. But while we have you here, I got to get your thoughts. We talked about the Jets at the top of the show. Normally, there is a new coach bump. We love to do that in betting the NFL and the NBA, just betting on the team. However, I don't know if it's going to apply here. I wonder if half of the – oh, hey, what's up, Meg? I wonder if half the team is just going to be like, screw this. Yeah. Like, I don't think a lot of people thought that Saleh was the problem. I think a lot of people think that Rodgers is the problem. I don't know if they're going to get that new coach bump. And I shared it with our group chat. It was Carter Bond, who does fantasy content, basically saying like, hey, a lot of people are getting turned off by Rodgers' attitude. So do you think there's going to be a new coach bump? And if you're going to get involved in this game right now, would you take the Bills or the Jets?
I would take the Bills. I mean, just by laying 2.5, give me underneath that key number. I could see it being a field goal game. I don't think it's going to matter too much with the new coach. Like I said, the Jets are a volatile team, man. Sometimes some weeks they look really good. Some weeks they look really bad. The defense I do think is strong. Josh Allen has had 2 pretty poor performances back to back. The Bills have kind of struggled back to back. I think they get Khalil Shakir back. I think they're going to get going. So I lean Buffalo. It's not I haven't taken it or anything, but I would take Buffalo by 2.5. I don't think the new coach thing matters too much, to be honest.
All right. Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Steve made a great point, though. This is why we
That's
don't
true.
get involved right now. Let's see if Josh Allen's in there. I have a couple friends who think that he might sit this week, in which case I think the Jets would be a smash, although, the line would probably flip. It'd probably be Jets -2 at home. Jayme, what's your best bet for week 6? I finally figured out what week we're on.
I'm going to San Francisco. Give me San Francisco by 3.
All right.
Thursday night football game.
49ers. Thursday night football, giving them the play early. JC, your favorite bet for week 6?
Let me go Cleveland +9.
What?
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Points. Too many points.
Well, all right. JC. I know there's a dumb joke in there, but I don't feel like making it. Go ahead, Tyler. What do you think is the best bet for week 6?
Detroit -3. It's as easy as it gets. They're going to smash Dallas.
All right. Oh, my gosh. So I really think the best bet this week is Jamie's team, the Packers. I'll lay 5 with them. But just as a bonus bet, and this is not going to be on the sheet because I know everyone's going to disagree with me, Give me that Denver Broncos money line. Sean Payton.
There's
gonna get it
there's
done.
another bet on the board that's screaming to you like the Green Goblin mask that wants you to bet it so bad.
What?
The Steelers. But I'm not letting you do it.
I don't want to do it because it just doesn't make sense, and that's the NFL, right?
Yeah, it's the game they
Everything
lose.
made sense. Betting this league would be easy, but I swear this is like the spot where the Raiders like look great. You know, the defense gets back. I mean, to be fair, if they didn't throw that interception last week, they go up 17-3. We might have a different feeling around this team. So it just shows you how much things can change week to week, and I don't think they want to give up. Jayme, final question: where do you think Devontae Adams ends up?
He's going to the New York Jets. I mean, Saints were, they were talking, but now if Derek Carr's hurt too, he's definitely not going to want to go there and play with Hayner. You know what I mean? Like, there's no chance. He's going to the Jets. The Jets are going all in on Aaron Rodgers. They're getting him his boy for sure.
Well, I got a curveball answer here.
That shot?
Yeah.
What's up?
I'll wait for my turn, but I got a curveball answer here.
Okay.
It's your turn right now. Let's hear it.
No, let's go to JC first. I got to be last.
All right, that's what we'll end with. I'll actually cue up the outro music today too. JC, where do you think Devontae ends up?
Buffalo.
How about you, Tyler?
Cue up the music spread.
Yeah.
He's going to be a Baltimore Raven.